Alrighty, it's been a little bit. We talked about the historical significance and the four families that are shown in this game, but now we're going to see how it stacks up against our reigning champion in our worst game series. That's right, Silent Hill Homecoming is going up against Umbrella Corps. Welcome to the worst of the worst. Oh damn, I didn't think this was going to happen, but we have Resident Evil versus Silent Hill in the worst game I own competition. Not something I thought would ever happen considering just how well loved both franchises are, but here we go. If you are new to the worst of the worst, I have picked 8 games I own to see which one actually is the least enjoyable one I have. We have some criteria: gameplay, presentation, story, and game feel. I would like to point out that just because Sweet Baby worked on a project does not mean it's the worst. Seriously, some of y'all need some new talking points. This is just sad. We have had some interesting contenders, but the most recent king of the hill is Umbrella Corps, a game that I can only play half of, so Homecoming will have to do a lot to dethrone this one. Gameplay is kinda weird for a Silent Hill game. It was the first with more of a modern sensibility when it came to cameras, controls, and combat, and various levels of it working out. This section is totally spoiler-free, by the way. The biggest change from prior Silent Hill games is that combat. For every game prior to this one, the characters we play aren't combat ready in any way. They are the everyman. So when you play as Alex, who is bobbing, weaving, and slashing away, it's a bit jarring, especially when you just come from playing those games. The camera is no longer that static angles that sometimes move with you or follow behind you at a higher view. Instead, they went with a over-the-shoulder style cam. Not as tight as Resident Evil 4, but close enough that Alex does take a good portion of the screen. Thank God this is 16:9 and not 4:3 ratio, because he would take up far too much screen space, similar to that of Jaws Unleashed. Honestly, there are a lot of things that don't really feel like Silent Hill, and frankly, I know I will get shit for this, but it was time to start updating the series. I know people love tank controls, but games need to change and evolve as the industry does. That being said, every weapon I touched in this game was absolute garbage, except for the knife. Always use the knife. The presentation of this game is very poor, with some notable exceptions of the music. Akira Yamaoka is back and, yet again, has some amazing music that I can't use if I want this video to stay up. I'd rather not fight copyright notices. There is one song with Mary Elizabeth McGlynn called One More Soul to Call. It's easily one of my favorite songs from Silent Hill. I wish I could play it here, but damn, I really don't want to fight those copyright notices. I enjoy the music. It's the same guy who made previous Silent Hill music, and if you dislike the work of Yamaoka, I have no idea what to tell you here. The voiceover work in this game is rough, just like most Silent Hill games. I'm sorry, but the voiceover is never a high point for these games, with some notable exceptions. But overall, they are middle of the road at best, and this one unfortunately fits that mold.
Mayor Bartlett, I need to talk to you.
Yeah? Well, make an appointment in my office.
What the hell's happened to Shepherd's Glen? You're the mayor. These people are your responsibility.
Now you listen to me, you little asshole. I did everything I could to protect those people. But you can't stop what's already been started. What the hell else do you want from me?
What about your son? Don't you want to protect him?
My boy? I didn't do much right with him. But I did buy him some nice things. Remember, Joey? Remember that nice present I got you?
The graphics are all over the place when it comes to textures and modeling for characters. Alex looks fine. Judge Holloway is not up to snuff for this time period. Compare some of the characters that are important to the story, and then place them side by side with some of the monsters, and you can tell where the effort was put in. And I'm kind of okay with that, I guess. The environments look fairly good, and frankly, I enjoy the transitions between worlds. I know this is from the movies, but I do think it's a nice touch, and I really enjoy the door design when you're trying to escape the Shepherd house.
And I can help him if you tell me the truth.
Let's move!
Mom?
The story is something people hate about this game, and if I'm going to be honest with myself, I think the story is the weakest part, except for an issue which I will point out when we hit the game feel. Massive spoilers for a game that came out in 2008. You start the game in a dream that is nothing but foreshadowing, and basically spoils the rest of the game if you pay attention. Once you wake up, you get this dope little cameo if you played Silent Hill Origins, as the person you're getting a ride from is Travis Grady, which really brings into question his mental stability if he's still willing to be driving around Silent Hill, considering what happened to him. You end up in Shepherd's Glen, a neighboring town which has a super shitty past. And when you arrive, it's basically Silent Hill. The town is clouded in the fog, everyone is missing, and the people you do see are massively screwed up. That might just be the graphics, though. You kind of can't tell. You have to go around and deal with each of the 4 families, and I actually just released a video detailing all of this, so if you are interested, please go and check that one out. Making it was a pain in the ass and the longest video I have made to date. Please, for the love of God, check it out. The game feels like it's retreaded territory since Alex is basically looking for his dead brother. And people say it's just a bad version of Silent Hill 2, but to my knowledge, James knew his wife was dead and he was going back to town in order to figure out how he was able to get a letter from her when she'd been dead for 3 years. Still, it feels too familiar, and it definitely kind of hurts the game. The forced addition of the Red Pyramid thing is also something I am not stoked with, but I feel like I may have to make a video justifying it being there at some point because I feel like I do have a solid theory. That doesn't mean I have to like it. The story is weak. I can't get around it, and I don't like some aspects of it because it's forced and derivative of other things in the genre instead of being genre defining like it was in the past. So I mentioned the 4 families, and with that, each boss is derived from each of the dead children that were sacrificed to the Order. It's a weird, complicated thing. Again, check out the previous mentioned video. It helps. The game feels not so good. I don't know a great place to put this in, so game feel is where it's going to end up. I tried to do this on the PC, and I could not get it to work right at all. It crashed, and not just the game, but it crashed my whole system. This port is absolute garbage. Like worse than the PC port of Deadly Premonition, so I had to pull out the PS3 and use my copy from there. Alex is supposed to be a soldier. He sure as hell doesn't feel like it. The combat is clunky. All the weapons just feel bad to use. And the dodging system seems hit or miss. Pun intended. There doesn't seem to be any guaranteed iframes or invisibility frames for those who aren't into the Souls community at all, and because of that, combat doesn't work well. It's easy to both stun lock and be stun locked by enemies. The nurses can be bad with this, but thankfully my latest run wasn't that bad.
What the fuck? This is some bullshit! I heard the fucking thing! What the fuck?
I do feel like the combat is a step in a decent direction, but it just wasn't all the way there yet. Well, so far I know the community for Silent Hill hates this game, but honestly I think they're kind of nuts. It's not the best game in the series. I even made this same joke in another video, but I hate The Room way more than this one. It's not the high point in the Silent Hill series, but I also don't think it's the worst. I'm looking at you, The Room. And no, not that one.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
The story isn't nearly as bad as people make it out to be, but the art direction is suspect in several places, and I wish we could have gotten some better voice direction. The controls aren't great by any stretch of the imagination, but it kind of served its purpose for the most part. Menu controls did kind of suck. I think when I played this game before, I may have given it too much credit. And since then, my opinion has dropped, but not enough to say that this game is the worst game that I own. That's right, this means that the reigning champion manages to hold on to its throne for its first title defense. Umbrella Corps, I like you as well, but you are far worse than this game, basically because this game is at least playable. Unless you're playing on PC. Seriously, that port is awful. If I had played Umbrella Corps with more people, I don't know if I'd be saying the same thing. So what is next for the worst of the worst? We only have a few titles left before we end Season 1 and we crown a winner. Well, I'm going to try to say this one without sounding like a lunatic. We are replaying a reboot of a reboot that was so bad they had to reboot it again. But that reboot did bad enough it destroyed an entire studio. This is a solid sign for a potential worst of the worst.